Hey, good day, everyone. If you can see me and hear my voice and also the slide, can you just give a smiling face or thumbs up? All right, very good. I can see some response. Okay, so today we are going to cover for chapter 7, data mining. And remember, you have altogether 4 chapters covered in your final exam as well as your next week mid-semester examination or your test. So these 4 chapters, including chapter 7, data mining. I can still hear some noise. Dr. Ng, can you please help me to mute them? Thank you. Okay, so what we are going to learn today, it is still about the predictive analytics. So you have learned about descriptive analytics. You have also learned about diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. So remember, you have to know the 4 types of data analytics, and you have to understand predictive analytics. We are trying to predict what is going to happen in the future. So today you are going to learn data mining, which is also one of the techniques for you to do predictive analytics. We will see a few techniques later to see how you do predictive using the data mining technique. Okay, so this is where we are now. We are at the chapter 10. If you're looking at your business analytics Pearson textbook, we are at the chapter number 10, introduction to data mining. Okay, but in our syllabus, this is actually chapter 7. Okay, so if you notice that chapter 1 and chapter 2 that we cover, which is not in the Pearson textbook, they are also covered in your test as well as your final examination. So concept of big data analytic life cycle, okay, trend line and regression analysis, as well as introduction to data mining, the one that I put exam. So please take note, there are still every week, there are students WhatsApp me or ask me in the group, what are the chapters that cover in the test? What are the chapters that cover in the final exam? We already repeated it many times. You can look at your course outline. You can look at your teaching plan. These are the 4 chapters: concept of big data analytic life cycle, trend line and regression analysis, as well as introduction to data mining. So I have repeated many times. So please take note. These same 4 topics will be covered for your test. Midterm examination is your test, as well as your final examination. I still can hear some noise. Who are the ones that have not mute your mic? Can you please mute your mic? Okay. So what are the things that we are going to cover in this chapter? You will learn about data exploration. What is the data exploration and data reduction? By basically these two, you already learned it before. When you learn about the visualization is one of the data exploration technique. You have also learned about statistical summary, the mean, mode, medians, the central tendency, dispersion, the spread of your data, skewness, kurtosis. All those help you for data exploration. And what is reduction? Remember, we talk about population and sample. We cannot collect the data for the entire population. It will be too many people. So we can actually collect the sample. So sample instead of population, that is considered as one of the data reduction approach. And we also talk about multi-collinearity. Remember, when you have a few features or a few independent variables, they explain about the target variable or your dependent variable. So we can drop some of the similar independent variable. So that is also trying to do the data reduction. So beside that, we also have dimensional reduction. In your machine learning, your programming Python course, you have also learned about feature selection. You have many independent variable, or we call it features in the machine learning. So for the features, let's say you may have many features, let's say x1 until x100. Are you going to use all the 100 features? Of course, it will be too many to use all the features that you have. So we usually will do some feature selection to reduce your data. Okay, so those are data exploration and data reduction. We have already mentioned some of them during our previous chapter. So today we are going to learn about classification. So classification, the main purpose is used for prediction. Remember, I said just now, we are at the predictive analytics. So classification, our main purpose is we want to do prediction. Why we want to do prediction? Of course, we want to make decision. So we say classification help us to predict as well as, decision making. Okay, as well as decision making. Then what about association? So from the term association, okay, from this term association, English, which actually means relationship, okay, but the data mining term, we call it as association, okay, relationship. Okay, in data mining term, we call it as association. So association, we're trying to discover the interesting relationship. We want to know, is there any interesting relationship between your variables or between the products that you purchase? For example, one of the very popular associations method is the and we call it MBA, market-based analysis. Okay, market-based analysis or MBA. So this method, it helps us to analyze, for example, if your customer buy a brake, not sure why it's always become an arrow. When a customer purchase a brake, very likely that the customer will also purchase a butter. So this is called association rule. We're trying to discover the pattern, okay, of the interesting relationship between your features or interesting relationship between your variable. For example, if a customer buy the salad or the vegetable, okay, if the customer buys salad or vegetable, very likely that the customer will also buy the salad sauce, okay? So this is considered as the relationship between them, okay, the salad sauce. So in association, we're trying to find out this type of relationship, and you will learn how to calculate to do some calculation. The calculation in this part is quite important. Okay, so you need to know how to do the calculation for the confidence and so on. And last but not least, we are going to talk about cause and effect modeling. So cause and effect modeling, you learn a lot in your statistic course. In your statistic course, you learn to build the hypothesis. Hypothesis method, okay, you learn about the hypothesis method. For example, some of you use the structural equation modeling, okay, they are considered as the hypothesis approach, or you do about the regression. Regression is also you have the hypothesis for your regression. So those approach are more on the cause and effect modeling. You try to validate the causal relationship, okay? You want to validate what are the causal relationship between the variable. So we are going to use this cause and effect modeling. So we are going to go through one by one. So let me show you the write-up for this. Okay, so as I just mentioned, data exploration and reduction. We try to identify the group in which your element, the element can be your features, it can be your independent variables, or it can be some parameters. Okay, so we want to group them if they have some similarity. So for example, as I told you, you can use the visualization or statistical method to group them. For the reduction, you can use feature selection. If you found there are some multi-collinearity, you may do some dimensional reduction for it. Okay, so all this helping us to group the similar features or the similar element. The element included your features, including your variables, parameters, and so on. Okay, and we do classification because we want to predict. You analyze your data, you want to predict how can you classify when you have a new data come into your model. So classification, it is a supervised machine learning method. Association, it is also a supervised machine learning method. Okay, so we will see this classification. So for classification, we already have the pre-label data. I will talk more about this one in a short while. You already have a pre-label data. Pre-label data means you know the input of the data. You also know the output of the data. So you know the input and the output. When you have a new data come in, you want to see based on what you have. Okay, when you have a new data coming in, based on what you have in your training data set, okay, you will decide the new data should be classified into which class or should be classified into which group. Okay, so you are trying to predict the new data should be classified into which group. Number 3, we will learn about association. So as I just mentioned just now, association, the most popular one is the MBA, market-based analysis. Okay, market-based analysis. M for market, B for base, A for analysis. So for this association, we're trying to discover or identify the relationship. In association, the relationship, we call it as association among your variables or between your variables, and create a rule. So we call this as association rules. You will create a rule for the target marketing, then you will have a target marketing, or you can have some buying recommendation for your customer or for your client. So as I said just now, for example, the people who, your customer who purchase the bread, very likely they will also purchase the butter. So as a marketing manager, what you can do, you can bundle these two products together and sell it to your customer with a lower price. So when you do this, compared to they buy it separately, you bundle them together and sell it to your customer with a lower price, very likely or very high chance your customer will buy it from you. So this is how we use the association method. And last but not least, we have this cause and effect modeling. This is also very, very useful for marketing analytics. Okay, for marketing analytics, we can develop a marketing analytic model to describe the relationship between your features or between your variables that drive your business performance. So one of the cause and effect modelings that we always use is we try to find out the correlation. Okay, the correlations between your variables. Okay, so when we find out the correlation between the variables, then we can run some marketing analytic method to attract your customer buy the product from you. All right. So let us go through one by one in detail. Okay. So if you still not understand, it's still okay. I'm going to go through in more detail. So please be patient, just be focused. So I repeat for those who just came in, this chapter is covered in your midterm examination, which is your test, and also your final examination. So please pay attention. So if you look at here, what we are going to cover in this chapter is classification, clustering, as well, not clustering, sorry, classification, let me erase this. Okay, classification as well as the association. Okay, classification and association. Regression, you already learned it in the last chapter and the last two chapters. Okay, remember we talked about the multiple regression, we talk about polynomial regression, we talk about logistic regression. So that is what you have already learned in last chapter and also the last two chapters. Okay, now let's look at classification. Classification is a method for predicting the instant class from a pre-labeled data. So as I said just now, when you have a pre-labeled data, meaning you have the input, you also have the output. You know the input, you know the output. So in this way, we call it as a supervised machine learning method. I use S to represent supervised. This is a supervised machine learning method. We use it for prediction purposes. When you have a new elements come in or a new customer come in, we want to know the new customer should be classified into which of the group. For clustering, so why I put together, although clustering by right is not in this chapter, but I put it together because many people confuse between classification and clustering. So I purposely include it here so that we also touch about clustering. Clustering is considered as a unsupervised, I use US, U for S for supervised, unsupervised machine learning method. So in other words, clustering, you do not have labeled data. So we call it as unlabeled data. You only have the input. You don't know what are the output. Okay, you only have the input. You don't know what is the output. So when you throw your data into the machine learning algorithm, the machine learning algorithm will, smartly put the cluster, okay, for your group. But the machine learning algorithm, it actually don't understand this group 1, group 2, group 3, what is their meaning. It couldn't identify what is group 1, what is group 2, what is group 3. It only help you to cluster them as cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3 based on some of the similarity. Okay, and then regression, as you know earlier, you can use it for prediction, and it is for continuous variable. If you remember earlier on, we have the example. This is the square feet. Okay, this is the square feet, for example, square feet of the house, and then this is the price for the house. So based on the square feet and the price, you draw the regression line. So when you have a new square feet, let's say you want to rent or you want to buy a new house, 1,000 square feet. So you will look at this regression line, 1,000 square feet. From here, you will be able to predict what is the cost. For example, 1,000 square feet, the cost is 600,000. So based on this regression line, you can predict what is the price. So we call this as a regression method. Regression method is a supervised machine learning method. Why I say supervised? Because you have the input is the square feet. You also have the output is the price. So you know the input, you know the output. When you have a new square feet coming in, you will be able to predict what is the price. I still hear some noise. Can you all please mute yourself? Okay, now what about association rule? Association rule, as I said just now, we are trying to discover interesting pattern. We want to identify what are the interesting relationship or the interesting association. In association, the relationship, we call it as associate. Okay, associate. When you see associate, which means relationship between the variable in a very large set of database. DB stands for database. Okay, database. So this is very, very popular in the MBA. MBA stands for market-based analysis. So why we have this diagram here? Because one of the very popular study, one of the very, very popular real case study, they collected the customer purchase in the supermarket. And they found out that the customer who purchased milk and also diaper, the baby milk, the milk for the baby and also the diaper, okay, diaper for the baby. When they purchase these two items, the milk and the diaper for the baby, the customer also purchased the bill at the same time. This is what they observe it during the data mining. So every time when you do the transaction at the supermarket, you pay your money, you pay the money at the counter there, you will get the receipt, right? So in the receipt, they actually type out what are the product that you purchase. So this company or this supermarket, they collected a few thousands of customer transaction, meaning they collect all the receipt and they do association rule analysis. They found out that most of the customer who purchase milk and diaper, they actually purchase bill. But of course, bill is not for the baby, right? It could be because of the fathers who help to buy the milk and diaper. It may be very tension to take care of the baby. That's why he or she need a bill. So that is the study finding, okay, from the association rule. So this is a very interesting pattern that we actually did not expect, but it showed up in the real study. Okay, so this is the differences between classification, clustering, regression, and association rule. All right. So now let's look at the example. Okay, I will give you more examples so that you can differentiate between classification, regression, and also clustering. So as I mentioned just now, classification, can you tell me it is a supervised machine learning or unsupervised machine learning? So first thing, I want you to type in the chat box. Let me open my chat box. Just type S or US. Classification is a supervised or unsupervised machine learning. Let me see your answer. Okay, very good. I have all of you answer it correctly, which is a supervised machine learning method. So let me give you one example. If you look at here, okay, my x-axis here is the distance. Okay, my y-axis here is the volume. Volume means the quantity of the product. Okay, I'm selling a product, so the distance shipping my product and also the quantity of my product. Let's say I have many vendors. Okay, I have many vendors, okay, for my product, for my company. So the blue color dot, I use it to represent my on-time vendor. On-time vendor means every time after they get my product, they will pay me. They will pay me almost immediately. So these are my on-time vendor. The green color represent those vendors who always owe me money. They always delay their payment. So I call this green color as my delay vendor. Okay, my delay vendor. So the green color represent all my all my vendor. Those are my delay vendor. And blue color represent all my vendor who are the on-time vendor. Now, let's say when I have a new potential customer, this star, the star represent my new customer, new vendor. So this vendor, this is the distance, and this is the volume of the vendor purchase. So I know based on the distance, based on the volume, this is my new vendor located. Okay, so based on the distance of the new vendor, based on the volume of the new vendor, it is classified here, somewhere here. Now, can you tell me, my new customer, it tend to be a on-time vendor or it tend to be a delay vendor? Can you type in the chat box? Okay, very, very good. I can see all of the students here answer delay vendor. So this is what we mean by supervised machine learning method. Why it is supervised? Because I know the input. The input is my vendor. I also know the output. I know this is blue color represent my on-time vendor. I know the green color represent my delay vendor. I already classify them. I already have the class for on-time. I already have the class for delay vendor. When I have a new customer, I know how far is this customer from me. I know what is the quantity, the volume that of the product that the vendor want to order from me. I know where to put him or her. And from here, based on the classification, this new vendor tend to be a delay vendor. So I may reconsider whether as a manager, I will consider I want to take up this vendor or not, because this new vendor, very, very likely that I predict he or she will be a delay vendor. So maybe I don't want to take up this vendor, because if you have many vendors to choose, you may want to choose the vendor who fall into the on-time vendor. You should try to exclude the vendor, the new vendor who are possible to delay the payment. Okay, so this is how we use classification for prediction purposes. So for regression, let's compare with regression. Regression, you already learned it last week. You already learned it 2 weeks before. It is considered as a supervised machine learning method. So Hong Yu already typed for me. Regression is a supervised machine learning method. So based on the data, I have my input is the day to ship and also the volume for shipping. Okay, I have the input day to ship, my output the volume. So now, based on the blue color dot is my how to say, is my data, and I plot this regression line. This is my linear regression line. This is my linear regression line based on the blue color data. Remember, we learned earlier how we draw this line. We base on the least square method. Least square method means all the point very, very close to this straight line. So this is the best fitted line. Now, let's say I have a new customer. You see a star here, right? This star is my new customer. I know the volume that this new customer purchased. The new customer order from me. Let's say this is 5,000 volume. Based on this 5,000 volume, I will be able to predict how many days it will take to ship the product to my customer. So this is the prediction, and it is a supervised machine learning method because we have pre-label data to help us. Okay, we have pre-label, sorry, 1L, me erase it. Okay, we have pre-labeled data to help us group, or to help us predict, not group, to help us predict what is the output. Okay, what is the output? All right. Now, what about clustering? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3. Maybe I shouldn't put 3. Okay, so very good. I saw a few students type there, Hong Yu, and also the rest of you. This clustering is considered as unsupervised machine learning method. Very good. So now you know classification is supervised, regression is supervised, clustering is unsupervised. Supervised means you have pre-labeled data. So pre-labeled data means you know the input, you also know the output. Okay, you know the input, you also have the output data. Unsupervised means, okay, unsupervised means you do not have the pre-labeled data. You don't have the pre-labeled data. You only have the input, you don't know their output. So for example, you have this distance, you have this volume, and you have all these as your data. And based on the machine learning analysis, after you throw in this unsupervised data into the machine learning algorithm, it helps to put them into 3 different colors. You see, orange color, the ones that close together, it cluster it as one cluster. And then you have this blue color, the one that quite close to each other. Machine learning cluster them as cluster number 2. And you have another cluster here, the green color that close to each other. Machine learning class them as cluster number 3. So we trying to find out the natural grouping within the data. So we only know that the machine learning tell you there are 3 natural cluster of the vendor, but the machine learning will not tell you, is this on time vendor? Is this represent delay vendor? What is this represent? You don't know. The machine learning will not tell you. So based on this cluster, together with your domain knowledge means your understanding about your vendor. Okay, based on your domain knowledge, you can try to give the name to your cluster. For example, maybe this can be clustered based on the location. So you can see the distance here. This orange color is near to you. So let's say this is all the vendor in Penang. So the orange color is the one that near to USM. So maybe this one, I shouldn't use green color. Let me change color. Okay, maybe this group, this cluster group, we call it as cluster in the clustering method. Group, we call it as class. Okay, we call it as class when we do classification. So maybe this orange cluster, it represents those in the mainland. Okay, those located in the mainland of Penang, meaning in the island. Okay, those in the island. Maybe the blue color one, it is far from you. It could be, maybe this is the northern region of Penang. We don't know. So, but based on your understanding about your vendor, you can try to cluster, give the cluster a name. Okay, and based on this information, it will help you to cluster your new customer later. So maybe this is those in the southern region. Okay, so you can do this southern region. Sorry, the spelling, I cannot put it properly. I cannot write it properly then. Okay, so clustering, it is unlabeled data. You don't have the output. You cluster it based on the machine learning algorithm, and then you can try to give name to the cluster if you have the domain knowledge about it. Sometimes you don't understand about the data, you may not able to give name to your cluster. Okay. Now, any question about classification, regression, and clustering before I move on? Because these are the things that students always confuse. Regression, it is for continuous data. You draw a regression line based on the data you have, and you can do prediction based on this. Classification, you predefine your group. The blue color is on-time customer, on-time vendor. The green color is delay vendor. When you have a new customer coming in, you will be able to predict the outcome based on the distance and the volume. Clustering, it is an unsupervised machine learning method. You don't have the output of the data. The machine learning algorithm will try to group them based on their similarity. Okay, so these are the differences between them. Let me stop the annotation. Okay, so if we trying to group them, if I'm trying to put them in a summary flowchart, as I always encourage you to do, summarize them in the flow diagram. So based on this flow diagram, you have learned about regression. Regression is the supervised machine learning method. You have just learned about classification. Okay, so logistic regression, it is actually one of the classification method as well. You also just learned about clustering. And just now, you also learned about association rule. So regression and classification, they are under supervised machine learning method. Whereas clustering and association rule, it is under unsupervised machine learning method. Then you will ask me, Dr. Tan, why we need to separate into two parts? You look at the green color dot. The green color dot means when your data is a continuous variable. In other words, it is a quantitative variable. Quantitative variable, we use regression for supervised method. We use clustering for unsupervised machine learning. If your data is categorical data, categorical variable, or we call it qualitative variable. Qualitative variable, we either use classification or we use association rules or association analysis. Besides that, there are also other methods such as decision tree, random forest, hidden Markov models. These we are not covered in this syllabus, in this chapter. So you just need to know regression, classification, clustering, and association analysis. You also see a new term here, reinforcement. Reinforcement is somewhere in between supervised and unsupervised machine learning method. I will show you one example later. You will see what is the meaning of this reinforcement. This is not in your syllabus. I'm just trying to tell you, besides supervised and unsupervised, you also have another type of machine learning that we call it as a reinforcement machine learning method. These two you must know. This one, if you don't know, it is fine. Okay, now let me move on. Okay, so if you look at this example, okay, you have a few animals here. Based on classification and clustering, it will give you a different output. Okay, so let us see. Based on these two, it will give you a, okay, based on these two, it will give you a different output. Now, if you do classification, as I said just now, classification is a supervised machine learning method. Okay, clustering is unsupervised machine learning method. In other words, when you do classification, you already have your description. So maybe you give this set of data to the machine learning model. So this is your trained data set that you tell if there are two legs and the mouse look like a sharp shape, then this is a duck. So if there are four legs and there is two two hook on top of the head, then this is a sheep or this is a goat. And then if you found the animal with the two legs and you see there is a red color on top of the head there, then please classify it as a chicken. So we have this type of pre-label data. You already tell your machine learning what are the characteristics that we should group them. So when you have new set of data coming in, the machine learning will be able to help to classify them. So these three will be classified as one class. The goat only have one, will be put at the class 2. And class 3, you have the chicken. Class 4, I think this is sheep or maybe cow. And then class 5, you have the rabbit. And class 6, you have this. I'm not too sure what is this. Okay. But if you don't have pre-labeled data, that means you have unlabeled data. When you have unlabeled data, you throw into the machine learning model or machine learning algorithm, you see it helps you to cluster them into two clusters. Can you tell me actually how the machine learning or what are the characteristics that your machine learning used to cluster them? Can you observe from here? Based on these two clusters, what is the characteristic that, can you type in the chat box, what is the characteristic that the machine learning trying to cluster them? Okay, Zizhe say based on the number of legs, can you tell more specifically? I have N, Ammoni, I have QW Xingwen. I have Xingwen say 2 legs in a group, 4 legs in another group. Very good. Okay, chicken and animal with and without the beaks. No. Actually, your machine learning trying to identify the similar characteristic. On the left side, your machine learning identify those animals with the 2 legs and put them together. On the right side, your machine learning trying to identify the similar characteristic, which are the 4 legs animal, and they cluster it together. So when you have unlabeled data, the machine learning will trying to find out the similar pattern, the similar characteristic to group or to cluster them. So this is how they are classified. So based on these two, I think just now one of your friends asked which one is more accurate. Okay, based on these two, which one is actually better? Classification is better in grouping them, or clustering is better in grouping this animal? Can you tell me in the chat box? Classification is better here or clustering is better here to group the animals here? Yes, very good. We can see here classification, which is the supervised machine learning method, will be more precisely grouping the animals into their respective groups. So this on the left side, classification is better compared to the clustering if you are trying to grouping your animals. All right, very good. I can see all the students understand it. You give me the correct answer. Now, is there any more question before I move into the association rules or association analysis or associate rule mining? They are the same. Some book they use association rule, some book they use association analysis. So association rule mining, they are actually the same. Okay, so there's one question here. If classification is better to be used, in what way should the clustering be used in the real case? So in some of the real cases, you actually don't have the output. You only have the input. That's why you cannot predefine. You cannot pre-label your data. When you cannot pre-label your data, then you need to use the unsupervised machine method. You have no choice, but you need to use the unsupervised machine learning method. So in that case, you have to use clustering. Okay? All right. So if the data contain both quantitative and qualitative data, which machine learning method should be used? That's why it is better for you to choose the variables or choose the features that have the same characteristic together. For example, if you are analyzed about continuous data, so during your data deduction, you should try to choose all the variable which are the continuous variable. Then you can use your regression or clustering. So if you want to analyze about your categorical target variables, then in your data preparation, you should identify which of your target variable is the categorical variables. So try not to mix them together. Of course, you can analyze them if you mix them together, but you need to use dummy variable. We didn't cover about dummy variable, which is more advanced analysis. Okay? All right. Now, let us move into the association rule mining. Association rule mining is very, very, very important in your exam because this is the only method that you can do the calculation manually. So I repeat, calculation question for your final exam as well as your midterm test for associations analysis. Let's see this example. This is one example of market, just now I say market based, sorry, it should be market basket analysis, MBA, market basket analysis. So we call this as basket because this is the first customer ID. This is the transaction. If you go to the supermarket, This ID 1 is the first customer. Customer 1 put the 2 items into the basket and he or she buy bread and milk. Customer 2 buy 4 items. Customer 2 put 4 products into her basket. Customer 3 put 4 products into his basket. And then customer 4 purchased 4 products. Customer 5 purchased 4 products. We call this as 5 transactions. Okay, this is 1 transaction, 2 transactions, 3 transactions, 4 transactions, 5 transactions. So let's say we try to analyze these 5 transactions. So first terms that you need to learn is this, frequent item set. So what do we mean by frequent item set? When you have an open curly bracket and a closed curly bracket with 2 items inside here, and you see here, diaper and bill, diaper and bill, diaper and bill. They occur very frequently in the 5 transactions. So out of the 5 transactions, there are 3 customers that buy or purchase diaper together with the bill. Okay, when the customer buy this diaper for the baby, he or she also purchase the wine or the bill or alcohol. Okay, so when we write it as this symbol, diaper and bill, this is what we call frequent item set. So how to form a rule based on this? So we can form an association rule. This is the rule that you are the business analyst. You will be the one that come out with this rule. So you know that the customer who purchased the diaper, he or she will also have a very high chance to purchase the bill together. So when you write this item in a bracket and you have an arrow, you go to the next item. We call this as an association rule. Okay, the way that you write it in this equation, we call it as an association rule. All right, now let's move on to more examples. So item set, the definition, it is a collection. It is a collection of 1 or more items. So I can put this only diaper. I can put 2 items, diaper and bill. I can put 3 items, diaper, bill, and milk. So when I put them in a curly bracket, it is called item set. K item set, if I put 2 item set, that means I have 2 items inside the bracket. If I put 3 item set, that means I have 3 items inside the curly bracket. Okay, so one of the example is diaper and bill. Just now I give you the example, diaper and bill, they are considered as 2 item set. If I put diaper and milk, they are also considered as 2 item set. Let's say, let me write another one. If I put diaper, milk, and also bill, okay, let me rewrite it. Diaper, milk, and also bill, I put 3 items in this bracket. Can you tell me how many item set is this? Can you type in the chat box? Okay, very good. So how many item set? It is depending on how many items you put inside the curly bracket. Now, the next terms that you need to learn is support count. What is the meaning of support count? It is the frequency or the number of occurrence of the item set in your transaction, okay, in your transaction. So let's check. I want diaper and milk. So diaper and milk, do I have it in my first transaction? No. Do I have it in my second transaction? No. Do I have it in my third transaction? Yes, I have diaper and milk here. Do I have it in my fourth transaction? Yes, I have diaper and milk here. Do I have it in my fifth transaction? Yes, I have milk and diaper here. So all together, I have 1, 2, 3. So frequency here, the support count is actually the frequency of this item set occur in your transaction. So it occurred 3 times. Okay, I repeat, support count means how many times this item set occur in your transaction. So 1, 2, 3, it occurs 3 times. All right. What is the support? Support is the ratio or the fraction of the number of transactions that contain an item set. So let's say if you want to calculate the support of the item diaper and milk, we use S. The symbol S represents support. Remember, diaper and milk, this is your item set. This is your item set. So just now I say the support count. Count means the frequency. Count means the number of occurrence. So it occurs 3 times in your transaction. So total, how many transactions do you have? So in this example, total, you have 5 transactions. So you take the support count, divide by the number of transactions. Support count is 3. This one is 3. 3 divided by 5. So you got 0.6. 0.6 is the support. Okay, 0.6 is the support for the items diaper and milk. Diaper and milk. Okay, I hope it's clear. You have a few terms, so let's make it clear for this one first. Okay, now let's move on. The next term will be confident. Okay, confident. Let me recap. You have learned about item set. Item set is this one. You have the item inside the curly bracket. It is called item set. You have learned about support count. Support count means you count how many times this item set occur in your transaction. When we say support only, the support only means it is the fraction. It is the probability. This item set occur in your transaction. So you take the support count, you divide by the total transaction. Okay, I hope clear until this step. You learn three terms. Now let's move on. Confident. Confident is the probability that the item B will happen given that there is a given condition that, you see, given condition is the item set A already happened in the transaction. So let's say my item B is my cola. Cola is the Coke. In English, it is also called Coke. So sometimes you see the term Coke, sometimes you see the term cola. They are the same. Coke and cola are the same. Let's say item set B is the cola, and my item set A is the diaper and milk. Okay, I have 2 item set now. Item set A is the diaper and milk. Item set B is my cola. Now, I want to find the probability that the Coke exit in the transaction given that the diaper and milk already exist. Okay, the given condition is the diaper and milk, meaning that when the customer buy the diaper and milk, what is the chances that let me rephrase my word. when the customer purchase the cola, what is the chances that this customer already choose or already put the diaper and milk in his or her basket? Okay, so in order to find this confidence, we need to divide the support count for the union. Okay, highlight this keyword for the union of A and B. A and B mean your item set A and your item set B. And you divide it by the support count of A. In mathematical equation, this is how we write it. You take the support count of A union. This symbol means union. A union B together. A is your diaper and milk. B is your Coke or cola. Okay, divide by support count of A. A is your diaper and milk. Okay, now what does this mean? The union of A and B is the item set of your diaper and milk together with the Coke or together with the cola. Remember, A is your diaper and milk. A does not mean one item only. A can be two items. You have A is the diaper and milk. B is your cola. So when you put them together, you union them together, you have diaper, milk, and cola. Divide by support count of A, meaning your diaper and milk. Support count of diaper and milk, just now you already count it. It is actually diaper and milk. It is actually, let me see, diaper and milk, the support count. Let me double check. I think just now I saw it as 3. Support count of diaper and milk. Yeah, it's supposed to be 3. Okay, support count for diaper. Oh, sorry, this is support count for diaper, milk, and cola. So let us check now. Okay, I'm trying to call out my annotate. Okay, so let's look at our transaction. I want these 3 items happen together. Diaper, milk, and cola. So number 1, I don't have. Number 2, diaper, milk, and cola. I don't have milk. Number 3, diaper, I have. Milk, I have. Cola, I have. So this one correct. Number 4, do I have diaper? I have milk, but I don't have cola. So this is wrong. What about this one? I have diaper, I have milk, I have cola. So this is correct. So 2 transactions that I have these 3 items set. So the support count is 2. Okay, the support count is 2 because I have 2 transactions that contain these 3 items at the same time. All right. And then I need to take these 2, divide by, okay, divide by the support count of A. So what is the support count of A? A is diaper and milk. Diaper and milk, just now you already see it in the previous slide, which is 3. So 2 divided by 3, you get 0.667. So, which means how confident you are. I will say that I am almost 70% confident that the customer who purchased diaper and milk together at the same time, they are very, very high chance that they will also buy the Coke or cola. Okay, so this is what we say about confidence. So if you are the manager of the supermarket, what you are supposed to do is you should pack them together and sell them in bundle, meaning you can put them together. For example, you put the milk, you put the bill, sorry, this one is Coke, but I just give you another example here. This is the milk, the bill, and also the diaper together. So of course, in this case, you should put the diaper, the milk, and also the Coke together. You put these 3 items together and you bundle them and you sell it cheaper to your customer when consider if they buy the 3 items separately. So let's say if you buy the 3 items separately, the cost for the diaper, let's say 20 ringgit. The cost for the milk, let's say 50 ringgit. And the cost for 1 Coke, let's say 5 ringgit. So if you sum them together, you buy them separately, the cost is 75 ringgit. So when you bundle them together, maybe you can give them a discount price of 70 ringgit. Then very high chance, very high chances, 70% of the chances that your customer will take the 3 items that bundle together. Bundle together means you put them together, you wrap them together and give them a cheaper cost, 70 ringgit. Okay, so this is how you do it. Okay, now let me move on. Okay, so wait. Okay, so how to write the association rule? So in this case, the new association rule that you can write is this one. This is how you can write the association rule. For those who purchase diaper and milk, you put the diaper and milk as a 1 item set. It is very high chance that they will purchase cola together. So you put the diaper and milk in curly bracket, you draw an arrow, and then you draw it to the item cola. When you write it in this equation, it is called an association rule. So the question may ask you to write an association rule. So this is how you should write an association rule. Okay, now let's look at the frequent item set. So frequent item set means the item set whose support is greater than or equal to the support threshold. So let's say your support threshold is 3. Then the frequent item set can be diaper and milk. So meaning if the question asks you to find the item set with a support threshold of 3, then you need to check throughout this transaction which item that occur 3 times in the transaction. So diaper and milk 1 time, diaper and milk 2 times, diaper and milk 3 times. So you can put diaper and milk as the support threshold of 3. What about diaper and cola? If we check diaper and cola, let me clean this. Okay, let me clean this up. If we check diaper and cola, you see diaper and cola. Okay, 1 transaction, diaper and cola. The second transaction, no. The third transaction, diaper and cola. So diaper and cola, the support threshold is not 3. Can you tell me what is the support threshold for diaper and cola? Can you type in the chat box? What is the support threshold for diaper and cola? Yes, very good. Okay, now I think you understand already. So support threshold for diaper and cola is actually 2. Okay, how do we define strong association rule? How to consider as a strong association rule? When you have the confidence greater than or equal to a confidence threshold value, then it is considered as a strong association rule. For example, if your confidence threshold is 0.5, and just now we found out that diaper milk to the Coke, the association the probability or the associations is confident, the confidence is 0.67. 0.67 is bigger than 0.5. So we can say that we have a strong association rule of diaper and milk to collapse. Okay, so it depends on the confidence threshold, and usually this confidence threshold will be given to you during the exam. All right, I hope it is clear. Now, let me test you. Okay, let me try to set one question here. Okay, I just set a very simple question here. Okay, bread and milk. Okay, bread and milk. I only have one answer so far. Can you tell me the support threshold for bread and milk? Okay, very good. So how to see that? If you look at the data here, bread and milk occur in the first transaction. Second transaction, no milk. Third transaction, don't have bread. The fourth transaction, I have bread and milk. The fifth transaction, I have bread and milk. So altogether, there are 3 support thresholds for the bread and milk. Okay, very good. So I saw all of you answer it correctly. Very, very good. Okay, now I think you already understand market basket analysis. The last one in this chapter, we will learn about hierarchical clustering. So hierarchical clustering is one of the most popular method for clustering. So I come back to here. We are at here now, clustering. Clustering is unsupervised machine learning. Okay, just now we learned about market basket analysis, which is the association analysis. Now we are moving to this clustering. So let's see clustering. Okay, why we call it hierarchical? Because if you look at here, it is hierarchy. It is level by level, level by level. Okay, and this diagram, we call it as a dendrogram. I want you to remember this term. This hierarchical clustering is the method. This diagram, we call it as a dendrogram. Okay, the one that we draw it here on the left side, this diagram is a dendrogram. Please remember this term. Okay, in the dendrogram, you will see this is your data, and on the y-axis, this is the distance. So based on the distance, we will be able to decide how many clusters are there. So how many clusters are there to group your data? So for example, if we look at this set of data, let me close this one. Okay, if we look at this set of data, when the threshold is 0, there is a blue color line here. When the distance is 0, excuse me, you can see there are all different color of data here. So there are many clusters here. I can't really count how many clusters are there. Now, if I move out my distance, let me make it bigger. If I move out my distance to a threshold of 0.475, let's see how many clusters I have. Remember, cluster means the machine learning try to identify. Let me go back to this example. Remember this example, clustering? the machine learning will try to identify the similar characteristic and group your data together. Okay, so when my distance is when my distance is 0.475, you see, I draw a horizontal line here. When my distance is 0.475, almost 0.5, you see how many clusters I have here. One, same color is one cluster. So one cluster, this is the gray color cluster. The second brown color cluster, second cluster. The third cluster, the orange color, these 3 dots. The fourth cluster, these 5 dots, not 5 dots, 2, 4, 6, 7, these 7 dots. The sixth cluster, the dark green color. The seventh cluster is the light blue color. The eighth cluster is the blue color, the dark blue color, okay? And then the purple color, and then the pink color, and then the black color. You see this dot in black color. And then you see the red color. The red color is one cluster. And then you see the another dark gray color. This, I think this should be, yeah, this should be the dark gray color. The 2 dot here is the dark gray color. So there are quite many clusters here. Okay, when you use the distance 0.475. If I increase the distance, let's say I increase the distance to 0.9. Okay, I increase the distance to 0.9, which is very close to 1. If you see, when I increase the distance, the number of clusters is reducing because the machine learning algorithm trying to identify the similar characteristic and try to cluster them or group them together. So you can say, you can see now I have gray color here. I have brown color is here, the second cluster. The third color is the orange color here. Light green color, my fourth cluster. Green color, my fifth cluster. And light blue color, my sixth cluster. How to count the cluster? In exam, you may not be given this color. So how did you actually count it? You see this cut-off point. You look at the blue color cut-off point. So this point, it is cut as this. So this one will become one group. One group means one cluster. So the second point is cut as here. So these items, they will be grouped together. So this is your second cluster. The third cutting point is here. So the orange color items, all these items, orange color, they will be grouped together as cluster 3. Similarly, cut at this point, everything below this point, it will be cluster 4. Cut at this point, everything, all the item below this point will be your cluster 5. Cut at this point, everything under the cutting there, this item will be in your cluster number 6. Okay, so you need to know how many clusters if you are giving the distance accordingly. Okay, now let me give you the next question. Okay, when I put my threshold at 1.6, when my threshold is 1.6, can you type in the chat box how many clusters are there? When my distance is 1.6, can you tell me how many clusters are there? In the exam or in your test, I will highly encourage you to circle them if you don't know how to see it. Okay, let me see the answer. Very good. Start from Vinci, Hong Yu, until Pei Xue. I got all of you answer 4. So how do we get 4? So here, when you cut at this point, everything in the gray color is one cluster. So this become one cluster. And then when you cut at this point, everything below it, the dark brown color, this is your cluster number 2. And when you cut at this point, everything below it, this is your orange color, cluster number 3. And then when you cut at this point, everything below it, all these items in the light green color, they are your cluster number 4. So how many clusters you have, it depending on your distance that you choose or the distance given to you in the question. Now, let's look at the last one. If my threshold is 1.9, can you tell me how many clusters I have here? If my distance is 1.9, can you tell me how many clusters I have in my dendrogram? Why I have 3? How do you count that? Okay, actually you only have 2 clusters, not 3 clusters. Let us look at this carefully. When I cut at 1.9, this point, I have all the gray color in one cluster. When I cut at 1.9, it is actually exactly touched at here. So they are at the same point here. That's why all these items, they are considered as the brown color cluster 2. So you only have 2 clusters here. Okay? So sometimes the question may give you the distance and ask you how many clusters are there. Sometimes the question may give you the drawing, okay, and ask you to decide what is the distance. Let's say if I say 5 clusters, then you need to tell me what is the distance that can give you 5 clusters. Okay, so this is a type of question for hierarchical clustering. So hierarchical clustering is an unsupervised machine learning method. So you will ask me, Dr. Tab, why sometimes we have very few groups, sometimes we have many groups. How do we know which one is the correct one? This is where the domain expert need to come in and tell us. As a business analyst or as a data scientist, we only know how to run the analysis, but we don't know what is the characteristic of your data. But the domain expert will be able to tell us. Let's say, if you tell the domain expert, the clustering tells us that there are 6 clusters. Can you make meaningful interpretation for this 6 clusters? If the domain expert can tell you what is the meaning of this 6 clusters, then you can use 6 clusters. If the domain expert say, I don't know how to name them as these 6 clusters, then maybe you need to keep increasing the distance to get less cluster. So let's say if you go to 4 clusters, now you ask your domain expert. Domain expert means the one who really know the data. You ask the domain expert. The domain expert can tell you that this actually represent this actually represent 4 discipline of student. Let's say this is the social science student. This is the computer science student. This one is the art square student. And this one maybe is the mathematics school student. So if your domain expert can name the cluster accordingly, that means you have successfully cluster your data into meaningful outcome. Okay, so this is how we use the clustering. All right. So that's all for this chapter. Let me recap before I talk about the test. Okay, basically in this chapter, you need to know what is supervised machine learning method, what is unsupervised machine learning method. You need to know how to differentiate between regression, clustering, classification, and association analysis. So for regression, if you are given one of the input, you should be able to predict the output. For clustering also, you use the dendrogram or the hierarchical clustering. You will be able to tell how many clusters are there based on the distance. For classifications, just now you already see, we able to classify as a good vendor or bad vendor based on their payment, late payment and on-time payment. And for the association analysis, the very popular one is the market basket analysis that you can use to bundle the item together. But one thing that I want to remind you, because some of you, we have more than 600 students here. Let's say 1% of you become a consultant. Okay, so you need to know as a consultant, you cannot just tell people that based on bucket MBA method, item ABC should be bundled together to sales it. So one of my entrepreneur consultant, he actually faced one of the client. That client, he has very, very high sales. All the product they bundle together and sales it, they have very, very high sales, but they have very bad profit. So why this happened? They sales, the volume is very, very high because they bundle together, it is cheaper. So many customers buy from them. They bundle the item ABC together. They have very high sales. So as a business analyst, you may advise them to put the 3 items together and they get a very high sales. High sales may not be a good representative that the company earn money because they actually bundle the low margin item. Let me type in the chat box, low margin items together. You do not bundle all 3 low margin items together. Even though your sales is very high, the quantity, the volume is very high, you cannot earn money. Because remember, you still have the indirect cost. Indirect cost means you need to pay your employee, you need to pay the rental fee and so on. So if you put all the low margin item together, you will earn a little bit only. When you bundle the item, you should bundle, let's say this is low margin, you should bundle high margin item together with the low margin item. What is the meaning? Meaning these 2 items B and C, you actually earn a lot. You bundle with this low margin item that you learn a little bit, it is fine because overall.
会好的，再等等吧。
Still can hear noise. Okay. So when you bundle them together, you cannot bundle all 3 low cost items. You should bundle 2 high cost with 1 low cost, then you can still earn. If you bundle 2 items, X and Y together, you must make sure one is low margin item, another one should be high margin item, so that you will not lose money. So that company, they have very, very high sales, but eventually they actually have a very, they actually are going to close their shop because of that. They bundle all the high cost item together. All the low cost item together, and they not manage to make the profit. So be very careful as the business analyst consultant, you should advise your customer accordingly. Okay. All right. if there is no question, sorry, I accidentally clicked stop sharing. Okay, if there's no question, we will look at the test. If you have question, please feel free to type it in the chat box. Okay, please take note that next Tuesday will be your test, your midterm examination. It will be online using e-learning platform if you are conventional student. You will be using ODL if you are E and B student. Both students will do it at the same time from 7:30 until 8:30. They are all together 30 MCQ question. MCQ means multiple choice question, meaning you have A, B, C, D. It is very similar to your quiz. Okay, and this contains 20% of your 100% in this course. It covers chapter 1, 2, 5, and 7. As I mentioned, chapter 1 is concept of big data analytics. Chapter 2 is data analytic life cycle. Chapter 3 is trendline and regression analysis. Chapter 4 is data mining. Okay, please take note that you do not need to enter WebEx during the test. You do not need to switch on your WebEx. Please do not call me or Dr. Ng. Please do not WhatsApp me or Dr. Ng. We will not answer you. This is not an open book test. If you seriously facing problem, both Dr. Te, meaning me, and Dr. Ng, we will be in the WebEx. So use the same link, the WebEx link. If you have problem, then only you go into the WebEx. We will answer you in the WebEx. Don't WhatsApp us, don't call us. We are not going to answer. And take note that the test will automatically submitted. When it is times up 8:30, the system closed. If you halfway doing it, it will be automatically submitted. So you don't need to message me, don't need to email Dr. Ng and I to confirm that. Please confirm, Dr. Ng, I have submitted. Dr. Te, please help me to confirm I have submitted. No need. The system automatically submitted when it is times up. Okay? So if there is any question, please ask now. So if later on you have question about the test, please post it in the WhatsApp group. Do not personal message Dr. Ng. Do not personal message I. We will not answer you. Please post it in the WhatsApp group. Okay. So let me see. I think there is one question, but I still cannot see it. It doesn't pop up. Okay. Can we go back to the previous question once answered previously? Dr. Ng, can you tell about this one? How is the setting?
I think we can, depends on us whether we want to set the question once they answer. Can they go back to the previous question or not?
Okay, so we will update. Yeah, I think we can update them before the test.
Yes, I'll check the setting. Once I check the setting, then only I'll let you know in a WhatsApp group.
Yeah, we will update later. We need to check the setting. Any more questions about your test or this chapter? Okay, regarding the group project, after you have submitted the poster, will you get the chance to amend the poster and presentation after you have reviewed the presentation? Yes, all group will be given one chance after the presentation. You will be given the chance to improve your poster and resubmit it. Yes, for both the ODL and also the
But the
face-to-face
ODL one, only those that having a serious issue will only be contacted. So if the groups are for ODL, the groups that not being contacted means that your posters are all right and your presentations are all right. So for ODL, because for conventional students, they will be able to get their feedback during the presentation. So they need to pay attention during the presentation. But for ODL, once we evaluate your work, we will contact you in person. So if you don't receive anything, which means that your presentation and the posters are all right.
So you don't need to keep follow up with us. We will inform you if we need you to do the correction for ODL student. Yes.
Yes.
If internet connection is disconnect halfway, you can join again the test and continue. As long as before the time's up, you can join it again. Okay, I think I need to stop here. Dr. Ng, I will pass over to you.
Okay, so the next task is we are going to go through the exercises. Yeah, pay attention on this exercise because it is very important, not only for midterm tests, but also very important for final exam. So I will share the screen right now. Please join. We will start 8:40 sharp. Okay, so you are given 15 minutes to do the simple exercises. So please join. So we will start the quiz accurately at 8:40. Okay, I will start now. So please pay attention on the questions. Yeah, try to answer as accurate as possible. Okay, so how is it? From my side, I can see that most of you have completed. Now, if you have completed, can you please give me a thumbs up? If you have completed the questions, yeah? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. A lot of people completed it. Now, can you type in the chat box, how was the question? Is it difficult or is it easy? Very easy. So easy, yeah? How was the question? Yeah, please take note that you will be expecting this kind of question in midterm and as well as, I mean, the theoretical part of it, it is also in final exam, right? Especially the last three questions, yeah, the last three questions that you have been, that you mentioned earlier. I mean, in terms of the clustering, yeah, it is important for your midterm as well as your final exam. All right, so please take note. Later, I'll explain to you the answer. All right, so I think I will stop in 1 minute time. Then we will go through the answer. Okay, well, okay, I'll stop now. And I apologize that we might need to overshoot the time a little bit because I need to explain the questions. Okay, so let me stop the quiz. Okay, so okay. In the meantime, let me go through the answer with you. Okay, for the interest of time, I will just go through the text over here. Okay, so let's go through the first question here. Now, what is the primary goal of data mining? So remember, the primary goal of data mining, the keyword here is, all right, the keyword here is you need that to uncover the hidden patterns and the relationship in a large data set. So if you remember what Dr. Tan mentioned earlier, there are multiple machine learning tools, right? So different machine learning tools have a different different capabilities. So when you want to identify a hidden pattern, so choose appropriate tools for it. Now, which of the following method is not clustering? So all these are clustering except for decision tree analysis. Okay, what is dirty data? Now, basically, dirty data are talking about you are talking about the data with missing values or errors, not visually unappealing. So if the data is not nice, it doesn't matter because what we are concerning about is the missing value and errors. Now, the next question is talking about high leaf ratio. Now, high leaf ratio that's greater than 1 in the association rule mining means that they have a very strong and useful association rule. Now, in terms of visualization, I believe that in chapter 3, we also covered it pretty much, right, in visualization. So what are the visualizations technique that are useful in identifying the outliers? So definitely the box plot. Now, can you please type in the chat box how many components that we need to identify for box plot? Can you please type in the chat box to test your understanding whether you still remember or not? How many components that we need to identify for box plot in order for us to draw the box plot? How many components? Three components? Three? Okay, which three components? Actually, you need to find 5 components. Yeah? Number 1, you need to know the minimum, maximum. You need to know the Q1, Q3, and also the medium. So there are 5 components that you need to identify for a box plot. So please take note. So I spot check. Only a few people answer, but good try. Good try. So there are 5 components that you need to identify for a box plot. Yes, Q3, Q1 is correct. The third quartile and the first quartile is correct. But you also need to identify the minimum, maximum. Why? Because minimum and maximum are the outliers in the data set. So you can use that to identify it. As well as the Q2. Q2 is the median. Okay. Now let's go through the next question. Yeah. Now, what is the main objectives of classification in the data mining? Now, as mentioned by Dr. Tay previously in the summary of the lecture, so the purpose of classification is to assign categorical outcomes to the data point. Now, this is the calculation part here, which someone actually mentioned that it's a bit difficult, right? So don't worry, let's go through it together. Now, what is the confidence in the association rule in mining? So the formula is the ratio of transactions, including the antecedent and consequence to the antecedent transaction. So you can see over here, we are talking about A union B in support of A. So the answer already given to you in the formula. Now, what is the best technique suited for predicting a categorical outcome? Now, definitely a logistic regression. Now, remember, logistic regressions are good when you're talking about predicting whether the product is pass or fail, good or bad. Right, so this is basically we're talking about logistic regression, yeah, for categorical outcome. For formulas, okay, for midterm, if there's a calculation question, the formula will be given on the question itself. Okay, so I hope I answer questions here, Brian. Just like this. Okay, now what is the role of validation data in the data mining? So the purpose of validating is not to train the model, it's basically to adjust the model parameters and prevent overfitting. Now for ODL, the recording will be posted, so you can look through the recording again. Now, how are missing values commonly handled in a data mining? So one of the way is basically by estimating the values such as the mean or median. Of course, there are plenty of ways that you can do missing data, right? Missing value. So for this question, you can choose the most suitable one. The most suitable one, I mean, the most accurate one among these 4 is by replacing with mean or median. But of course, there are plenty of ways that you can do missing value replacement. Not deleting data, not replacing with 0, do not ignore it. Now, these are the calculation questions. Yeah. So now a data set with 10,000 records and 100 contain both A and B. So what is the support of A then B? So basically the formula is just using 100 divided by 1,000. So the in the support basically is 0.01. Next, okay, this is also a question where the total number of transactions is 100, right? 100. The number of transactions containing the milk, which is the antecedent, is 40. The number of transactions containing both milk and bread, the antecedent and consequence is 30. Now, for this particular question, why is it 75, 0.75? Because we have to use the antecedent and consequence, which is 30, 30 divided by 40. Okay, 30 divided by 40. Now, what is the misclassification probability if 5 out of 100 predictions are incorrect? So this question also pretty simple. 5 out of 100, which means 5 divided by 100. So you can get 0.05 probability. Yeah, we're talking about probability of misclassifications. Now, in the classification matrix, we have 80 correct classifications, 20 misclassification of 100. So what is the classification's accuracy? So same thing as well. We are talking about correct classification, right? So we are taking 80 divided by the total, which is 100. So we have 80%. Now, when we talk about accuracy, we normally use percentage. Probability, we don't use percentage, we use decimal. Okay, this is the part of I need you to pay much attention here, because we are talking about the number of clusters. So please pay attention here. Okay, let's go into the first question. Now, identify the number of clusters when the distance is 3.5. So when you encounter such questions, right? I mean, for this particular question, I already drew the line for you, which is 3.5, right? So can you please type in the chat box, how many clusters do you see from this? When the distance is 3.5. Good, which is 2. So please ensure that in midterm and final exam, you also need to know how to answer. Please pay attention here. Very good. So how do we know that? Basically, you can refer to this. You can refer to this and this. So this whole thing is considered as one cluster. And this whole thing is considered another cluster. So therefore, the answer is 2. Oh, don't understand the incorrect. Don't worry, I'll go through it. Okay, now let's go through the next one. How many number of clusters when the distance is 2.25? Okay, can you please type in the chat box? How many? I mean, for those who have done it right, how many? How many clusters when it's 2.25? Now, how do I know that? For my method, for my case, right, I will look into this. We have this 1, 2, 3, 4. See the arrow here? You see, we have this line, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. So in total, we have 9 clusters. How I do it? Because I look into the line, this line, basically this line. Okay, so correct, 9 clusters are correct. Okay, good. A lot of people got it right. Very good. Okay, the incorrect cluster. Now, I purposely chose this question because after you identify the cluster, you need to know which cluster is correct. All right. So I will use different color pen to show you. Okay, I'll use a different highlighter to show different color pen. Okay, can you tell me what is the component inside the first cluster? Please type in the chat box. The first cluster, this is cluster number 1, right? What component is that? 1 and 11. Very good. Okay, 1 and 11 is correct. So which means that A is correct. Am I right? Okay, let's go through the answer for B. Cluster 5 and 7. Okay, cluster 5, okay, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, and 9, right? Okay, can you tell me which cluster with 5 and 7? Okay, let me zoom it for you. Which cluster with 5 and 7? Cluster number 3, right? Very good, because here, cluster number 3 shows you what? This line, right? Shows 5 and 7. Very good. Okay, which cluster shows 3, 10, 27, and 30? 3, 10, 27, and 30. The last one, right? Very good. Here. The last one shows, which is cluster number 9, 3, 10, 27, and 30. Now, I purposely put this answer because 2, 19, 6, 25, 8, and 16 is a combination of 2 clusters, right? It's a combination of 2 clusters. Now, why I say so? Where is it? 2, 19, 16, 25, and 16, correct? It's a combination of which clusters? It's a combination of cluster 6 and 7. So therefore, when the distance is 2.25, this cluster is incorrect. Very good. A lot of people got it right. Okay, a lot of people got it right. Now, if I move, let's say I just give an assumption, right? In case I move the distance to, let's say, 2.6, if I move the distance to 2.6, just a rough example here. If I move the distance to 2.6, this is the line, right? Okay, this is the line. Therefore, this cluster is correct. If the distance is 2.6, then 2, 19, 6, 25, 8, and 16, this cluster is correct. All right, so if you understand this, please type 1 in the chat box. Okay, if I move the distance from 2.25 to 2.6. Okay, so I hope you understand, yeah, on how to identify the correct and incorrect cluster, because in midterm test, definitely there will be a question on this. Okay, definitely there will be a question on this. Okay, so please take note. Yeah, I guess I've pretty much covered all the questions. Yeah, I covered all the questions. So any question before I pass it back to Dr. Tan? Okay, if no, then I'll pass it back to Dr. Tan. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ng, for the very clear explanation. Okay, I don't have any more word. It's already late. I just want to remind all of you to attend the midterm examination next week. No replacement will be given if you absent from the test. I repeat, no replacement will be given if you absent from the test. Okay, good luck and all the best. So make sure you do the revision. Thank you. Bye. No class next week. Next week only midterm examination, no class. Thank you.